You wouldn't take the scallops with vermicelli that only cost 0.2 yuan each, but you insist on getting the ones that cost over 1 yuan with their shells attached. You work yourself to death, but what can you really earn? Let me tell you 2 reasons why even fake scallops still make money. First, they're cheap. Fake ones are just cheap, nothing but cheap. There's nothing we can't fake. Look, the meat comes from scallops, the shell from summer clams, and the vermicelli is from Longkou. It's a whole family of fakes. Let me show you how low the costs are. Golden scallops cost 0.2 yuan each. Shells, depending on size, range from 0.4 to 0.8 yuan. Even the largest ones are just 1 yuan each. Add in garlic sauce, which costs just another cent. Then, these 8 to 9 centimeter ones are sold for 10 yuan for 5 pieces. That's a profit margin of around 60%. Even at night markets, you make money, let alone big supermarkets, which sell 6 pieces for 15 yuan. But if you use real summer clams, one already costs 1.9 yuan. Add the vermicelli and garlic, could you still sell 5 for 10 yuan? Second, fakes are convenient. Just toss them on a grill, add garlic sauce, and they're ready in no time. If you use real summer clams, you'd have to remove the shell, guts, gills, and scrub the edges even before adding the vermicelli and garlic sauce. Imagine how much more you'd have to do, and the cost for one would already be 9 yuan. Who could afford that? Nobody cares whether it's summer clam or scallop meat. People just want to buy cheap, not expensive. Recently, a blogger claiming to be in the frozen food wholesale business revealed on Chinese social media platform Xiaohongshu the truth behind the cheap steamed fan shells sold in China. Many users thought it was satire, but it turned out to be real. One user commented, "These things weren't cheap to begin with, and now they're even faking it? How is this different from selling pre-made dishes as freshly cooked ones?" The blogger replied in the comments, "It's not entirely fake, just a case of using lower quality ingredients and reassembling the product." Let's see how much these scallops with garlic and vermicelli sell for in restaurants.
Garlic vermicelli steamed with scallops are also pre-made frozen food. You just open the package, place the ready-made scallops on a plate. One bag has 6 pieces and costs 10 yuan. If a table has 12 guests, they'll order a big portion, say 12 pieces, which costs 98 yuan for the dish. Once arranged, steam it for about 4 to 5 minutes. After steaming, sprinkle some green onions, drizzle with hot oil, add a bit of sauce, and it's ready to serve.
For 12 scallops, the restaurant owner makes 78 yuan on this dish with a gross profit margin of 80%. No wonder pre-made dishes like this are so popular. Fake scallops, fake squid. You really start to wonder what real seafood you can get in China. Here's what happened. I ordered some cuttlefish roe on Pinduoduo, and it arrived today. When I opened it, I found that all the roe inside was artificially injected fish eggs. I was so disappointed. When I contacted the seller, they apologized and offered to refund me 6 yuan. Personally, I feel this is misleading to consumers because their product page didn't mention the roe was artificial. So I filed a complaint with Pinduoduo's customer service, requesting a full refund without needing to return the item. Actually, what this woman encountered is quite common. Luckily, she was careful enough to notice something was off. Most consumers wouldn't even know they were eating fake roe. That same frozen food wholesale blogger also exposed this kind of artificially injected cuttlefish roe. Let's take a look together. Now, what's the difference between natural and artificially injected cuttlefish roe? Natural roe has a crunchy, full texture when you bite into it. Here, I have 2 tubs of cuttlefish as raw materials. This one's male and this one's female. Obviously, the female carries the roe. Take a closer look at what real roe looks like. It's translucent and has a grainy texture inside. Now let me teach you how to tell the difference between male and female cuttlefish. This one is male and this one is female. It's obvious, right? The male has a bigger head and longer tentacles. Many dishonest sellers will inject artificial roe onto a male cuttlefish. It's actually easy to tell. The roe is separate from the meat, unlike the intact natural roe, which is perfectly attached. The roe in cuttlefish can be artificially injected, and the crab roe can also be faked in the same way. Some crabs that appear to be full of roe might actually have fake roe injected with a syringe. Not only is crab roe faked, but even crab legs can be too. A user from Sichuan, visiting the coastal city of Yantai for the first time, wanted to try the local seafood. However, they ended up eating fake crab legs. After the meal, they even had an upset stomach. Take a look, fake crab legs. This is outrageous. The inside isn't real crab meat. It's filled with gluten made from flour. It's so disappointing. How are these fake crab legs made? Let's see what an industry insider reveals about the process.
Today, let me show you how these artificial king crab legs can pass for the real thing. I prepared 3 sets of crab legs. Can you tell which ones are real and which are fake? This one here is real, but look at this leg. Everything inside is fake, except for the shell. Let me cut one open for you. The fake meat looks convincing, but do we really need to ask if there's actual crab inside? Some of the better fakes might add a bit of fish paste, but if they're being stingy, they'll skip even that. It's just starch and a mix of additives. People who are allergic to seafood can eat this with no problem. They sell it for 22 yuan a pound, and each pound includes about 20% water. You can find these at street stalls, restaurants, and even supermarkets. Most people haven't tried real crab anyway, so they get fooled easily.
During the Mid-Autumn Festival, when crabs are at their best, many people buy them to enjoy a feast. But unfortunately, buying crabs can be a trap too.
Have you seen how fake crabs are made? Watch this. They attach the legs to the body, then add a claw, securing it with a rubber band. Another claw goes on the other side, also tightened with a rubber band. How does it look? Pretty good, right? And just like that, you've got a real crab. I'm so angry. Yesterday, I bought crabs at a highway service area, and they were all empty shells. A man approached me, saying they delivered seafood to restaurants but had some extras. He asked if I wanted to buy them at a discount. Out of kindness, I checked them out. The crabs were all frozen in boxes, packed in ice. I didn't inspect them closely. After defrosting them at home, I realized the crabs were empty. I also bought 3 boxes of mantis shrimp, spending a total of 200 yuan. After defrosting, those were empty too. The big crabs, once thawed, were completely hollow. I've heard that the meat from these crabs is extracted by sellers to make crab balls. Don't ever buy seafood from refrigerated trucks in service areas.
This crab scam happens almost every year, especially in the fall when crabs hit the market. It's widespread across China. Last year, a Shanghai resident shared that while waiting for his child, a truck with a Henan license plate parked nearby. Someone knocked on his window, claiming they had extra seafood after a delivery and were selling it cheap. The resident bought some and took it home, only to find the mantis shrimp he defrosted were not the big ones as advertised. Instead, the boxes were filled with broken shells, octopus pieces, seahorses, and tiny crabs. When he defrosted the crabs, they were all empty shells. In just 5 minutes, he had been scammed out of 750 yuan, bringing home 7 boxes of rotten seafood. These street seafood scams often involve people pretending to be drivers for large supermarkets or cold chain suppliers, selling spoiled seafood to unsuspecting passersby. Since October, these scams have been reported frequently in places like Shandong, Chongqing, Sichuan, Zhejiang, and Shanghai. On the morning of October 12th, Miss Li was on her way to work. While passing by a refrigeration truck parked near an apartment building in her neighborhood, 2 men called out to her. They claimed to be drivers from the supply chains of Hema Fresh and Sam's Club, and said the seafood on their truck had just been delivered to Shaoshan that morning. To make some extra money on the side, they had secretly taken a few boxes out to sell. They showed Miss Li a box of crabs, which were all frozen. She bought a box from them, but when she got home after work and defrosted the crabs, they gave off a terrible smell. These kinds of empty shell crabs are often sold by mobile vendors. They usually have frozen crab packed with lots of ice, advertised as cheap deals to attract buyers. It's only when you get home and defrost them that you realize you've been tricked. These crabs are either seafood that's been frozen for a long time after dying, or their crab meat has been completely removed. Either way, they're inedible. And since these mobile vendors move around frequently, it's nearly impossible to track them down for a refund. Victims can only chalk it up to a hard-learned lesson. Living in China is tough. You never know when you might get scammed because there are just too many swindlers and dishonest sellers out there. Now I finally understand why all the vegetables in the market are covered in mud. I used to think they had just been freshly picked from the field, but it turns out the mud is applied by hand. They even wrap them in plastic wrap. Is this really what keeps them fresh? Does it even make them taste better? Vegetables with mud on them look fresher and can be sold at a higher price. Some vendors even hire people specifically to smear mud on the vegetables, making unsuspecting buyers think they've just been harvested. A user on Douyin filmed a truck driving along, leaking water as it went. At first, they thought it was a garbage truck, but when they got closer, they saw it was carrying pickled vegetables, specifically the sour long beans people often buy at the market. Turns out, these pickles are not even properly packaged. Let's take a look at more common fake food products.
Did you see that? Do you know what this is? This is a soy milk we drink for breakfast. Do you think it's made from soybeans? Look, just add a little of this stuff, and it changes color instantly. Add some sugar and a bunch of additives, and it's ready to drink. And they can't sell it fast enough. 3 big pots are gone in no time, and it's only 1 yuan per cup.
Soy milk is a popular breakfast drink in China, especially when paired with fried dough sticks. But who would have thought that the so-called soy milk is just a high-tech product made from flavoring and water? Speaking of fried dough sticks, they also involve a lot of technology and questionable ingredients.
Ever wonder why fast food fried dough sticks are so fluffy and crispy? Let me tell you the truth. Start with some flour, add a bit of dough improver, some fluffing powder, and crispy coating powder, then mix it all together. Coat it in shortening and deep fry it. Look at how fluffy and crispy it is. 1 sip of soy milk, 1 bite of fried dough sticks, and there's your nutritious breakfast.
If the soy milk is fake, then cow's milk must be a complete fraud. On October 13th, a blogger on Douyin posted a video saying a friend had recently gifted her a box of Ding Dong Niu, AD calcium milk. As soon as her child drank it, they felt something was off. She took a sip and immediately spit it out. Even her dog wouldn't drink it. Look at this color. Can kids really be safe drinking this? From now on, whenever I buy milk, I'm going to pour it out first to check before letting my kids drink it. Look, it's not even expired. In the video, you can see that after pouring out this children's AD calcium milk, there are large white clumps. This kind of fake milk are typical knockoffs, commonly seen in smaller cities and especially in rural areas. Let's take a look at the dark side of the growing trend of pre-made foods in China.
Today I'm exposing one of the most shocking ingredients in the food industry. This type of sausage, which has a wholesale price of only 2 yuan per kilogram. This sausage is widely used in clay pot rice, spicy hot pot, fried rice, and in meals served in restaurant kitchens and factory canteens. Usually, small workshops process it, where the dry goods supplier gets it for just 2.3 yuan per kilo and sells it to the food industry for 6 to 7 yuan per kilo. However, branded and legitimate manufacturers sell similar sausages for around 40 yuan per kilo, and even homemade sausages cost around 30 yuan per kilo. So just think about it. These small workshops, with a price of 2.3 yuan per kilo, still need to make a profit, right? Can you imagine the cost of making these sausages? No wonder suppliers always warn our boss saying, "Don't eat this yourself," without giving the exact reason. Of course, the boss gets it. It's okay to serve to customers, but they definitely won't eat it themselves. These sausages can be stored at room temperature in the kitchen for 3 years without spoiling. Even mice, flies, and cockroaches don't go near them. That's the truth. In the summer, flies fly around it, and even starving mice won't touch it. I'm genuinely curious about what's in it. These sausages are typically used as side dishes, mixed with vegetables to raise the price of the dish. Today, I broke my own rule and tried a bite. It's a little sweet, a little salty, with a wine-like flavor, and something else that made me feel sick. Forgive me, I couldn't keep it down.
Now, pre-made food covers everything, even scrambled eggs. But do you think these eggs are real? Just a quick search online and you'll find a product called soft scrambled eggs, sold in frozen bags. Restaurants and cafeterias just thaw them out and serve them. According to the sellers, these scrambled eggs have a golden color, are tender and juicy, and don't have much oil. They look very tempting. Since they're time-saving and cheap, most customers just use them as toppings for takeout or as sandwich fillings. However, if you look closely at the ingredient list, you'll see that although the main ingredient is liquid egg, there are over 20 different food additives. The nutritional label shows that the protein content is only half of that found in regular eggs. Even those popular braised eggs you find on the market are sometimes made with fake eggs.
Can you believe this? It's an egg within an egg. Isn't that just my luck? How did a good egg turn into a bad one? Fake eggs, fake braised eggs. What can we trust anymore? Look at this fake braised egg. See how one side is flat and the other is round? Now compare it with this country-style egg. Both sides are round, clearly a whole egg. Let's open them up. First, the country-style egg, then the fake one. See the difference? This one has a flat side, while this one is perfectly round. Let's cut them open. Look, the country-style egg is a complete egg, with the yolk and egg white clearly visible. Now look at the fake one. There's a gap in the middle. Let's break it open. It's an egg within an egg. How unlucky is that? And see, the middle is a quail egg. Let's examine the outer egg white. It's tough and rubbery, almost like plastic. Could this be real egg white? No, it's industrially synthesized. And this is what they're feeding us. Can this possibly be good for our health?
Quail eggs are much cheaper than chicken eggs, so combining them cuts costs in half. However, even quail eggs have their own issues. We previously exposed how some unscrupulous vendors soak cooked quail eggs in formaldehyde to preserve them. Another blogger recently revealed that the problems actually starts from how the quails are raised. Let me share some insider info. You should avoid these quail eggs, especially for children. Quails are raised in extremely crowded conditions. In just 100 square meters, they can keep up to 10,000 birds, so you can imagine how little space they have to live. The breeding sheds are kept lit 24 hours a day, so the quails never get to rest. They're constantly fed to produce eggs. This kind of overfeeding lowers their immunity, so from the time they're chicks, they're given hormones and antibiotics. The residue from these substances in quail eggs far exceeds the allowed limit. Frequently giving children quail eggs is definitely harmful. The fact that kids today are developing earlier and have weaker bones is closely related to the food we're feeding them. Quail eggs are popular with children and are a common ingredient at street food stalls, especially in barbecue or spicy hot pot dishes. Many people think quail eggs are nutritious and buy them specifically for their kids, not realizing they're actually feeding them drugs. It gets even more disgusting. Both adults and kids in China love grilled chicken cartilage, but did you know it's actually cut from the chicken's rear end?
Did you think this dish was made from chicken cartilage? It turns out it's from the chicken's butt. It says chicken cartilage on the label, but it's actually the cartilage from a chicken's rear end. Oh, look at this. It even has chicken poop on it. I'm going to throw up. You cut both sides of the chicken's butt, and this is where you find the cartilage. Now we clean it up and start seasoning it, I add a scoop of Orleans marinade, a pinch of ethyl maltol, but don't add too much. Half a packet of spices, some garlic powder, and a drop of sesame oil, and just a tiny bit of flavor enhancer. With one drop, the aroma comes out. Add in some crunchy powder, and it's something you can't stop eating. I've stocked up on a year's supply of this meat flavoring. Mix it well. It's not red enough, right? Let's fix that with some coloring. Who could tell this was made from chicken butt? Our cost, 1 yuan per kilogram of chicken butts. We fry these skewers in shortening, which clogs your arteries for sure. We definitely won't use oil that's been used for coal transport. We use solid fat, and you can transport it with a truck. Look, so tempting, tender and juicy.
Food safety in China is a huge issue. Some say that in modern Chinese society, people live in a mutual harm model. Everyone is trying to cheat others for profit, not realizing they're getting caught in the same trap. Yet, food exports are held to higher standards due to stricter inspections in other countries. Even so, there are still reports of Chinese food exports being rejected. This man sums it up well.
We We'd never cheat foreigners, but we'd never miss a chance to cheat our own people.
机会。